event. My name is Emeka Uzoh. I'm sure some of you know me well. Others may be seeing me for the first time. I'd like to share some little I know about invention with you. And please, I want this to be open, something more conversational as opposed to lecturing. However, in the introductory session, I may want to mention certain things for everybody who is not familiar with what a patent means, what it takes to have a patent. I'll go through that in more details. My agenda is very simple. A brief introduction about myself, what I do for a living. And then we actually go, what does a patent mean? After that, we go to worldwide invention landscape, which actually will reveal a lot about entire Africa and the rest of the poor world countries. After that, I'll go briefly into my time, my work for the past 30 or so years, then we have plenty of time to chat. I'm from Nigeria. My parents are from Ojoto. My father is from Ojoto, Michael Uzoh, and my mom is from Oba. We share common bond with Oba, so I'm like a local child in Anambra State. And I grew up in Ibadan. My father was a senior police officer under the former Nigerian government, and so we moved around a lot, but I went to primary school in Ibadan. My father was transferred to Enugu and said I have to come along. So I ended up going to a very good high school called CKC, or Christ the King College Onitsha. It's fairly famous for its own reason. When I graduated from high school, I had a scholarship from the Nigerian government to go and study abroad. And I attended University of Wisconsin, Nigeria, in Madison, where I studied meteorological engineering. After my undergraduate degree, I did well enough. I'd have full scholarship to pursue graduate school in many top US universities, but I chose Princeton for sentimental reasons. Over there, my research focused on aircraft structures, performance aircraft, how to build aircraft with carbon fiber, Kevlar, polymer layer, glass, and basically high-performance system. And my 6 years in graduate school was paid for by NASA and Air Force Office of Scientific Research as their research fellow. For my career-wise, I'll start from the present. I work for a company called Tessera since 2010. And now we split off, and our new name is Adia Inc. We're in San Jose, close to the airport. There I do research. My title is Distinguished Engineer Scientist, but it's okay for now. Before that, before going to Tesla, I worked for solar power. We developed a way of coating solar cells on stainless steel for a very, very flexible system. Over there was a research fellow. I left the company, which I was excited to join because of what that technology will have done for Nigeria and other third world countries. It's so light that you can generate 150 watts on 2 kilogram substrates, where we are using plastic instead of glass to laminate the solar cells. Our dream was to convert the entire roof of a house to a solar cell, basically. So after you put your plywood, you just glue the solar cells over the plywood and you will become solar cell. Unfortunately, it did not pan out. And before solar power, I when I left school, I joined IBM TJ Watson as a research scientist in 1985 to do highly advanced work. And after I left IBM to join this small startup, new tool, and we developed incredible revolutionary technology that changed the industry. And the company was acquired by a much larger company, which did not value our work. And of course, shut the company down. That's when the company was shut down. The fathers of solar power were my colleagues and friends, so I just naturally joined them because I was invited earlier to become a co-founder, which I turned down. You can see from the picture that actually I look like another young man, Nigerian, correct? So I used to look like one of you, even though I'm a lot older now. That's what I looked like when I was a junior at University of Wisconsin. And when I started working at IBM in '85, this is what I look like in my home library. Well, I used to be Latina now with COVID. I look totally different, but I accept that. And I have a lovely family, which some of you may have met. You can see this is our first daughter, Neka. She lives at Oakland with her husband. Neka is heavily into finance. He has a degree from Hampton, Tulane, and Kellogg MBA. Then our second daughter, Amaka. Amaka studied biomedical engineering. She went to Harvard and then went to Emory Medical School. Then, of course, went to Wharton for her MBA and now works on Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in Manhattan. She's in finance, part of the group managing their endowment. And this is our last daughter, Nwakego. Nwakego studied chemical engineering in the same school where I went to school in Celia, and then ended up with a master in supply chain management. She worked for Essential for a couple of years and then decided to go back to school. So basically, I'm happy, the whole family is excited because Nwakego will be getting her MBA and MCP from MIT in Cambridge at the end of May. So that's my family. And of course, our boss, my wife, Molly. So my family has been source of my strength and the great driving force behind my work. Let's go into the definition of patents. Before that, it may not be obvious that it's actually invention that's changed our life. If you look around you, from your cell phone, laptop, the light on the wall, the car you drive, your camera, the design of a house structure, they were all invented. Airplane, cars, look around. It is these inventors that have shaped the life we are, and quite often they are not appreciated, and some of them actually die very poor. A good example is Nikola Tesla, which some of you may have heard of before. Tesla car is actually named after him. You can see his quote that the progressive development of man is vitally dependent on invention, and it is the most important product of his creative brain. I believe that we all can create. Mothers at home perform magic, even though they're not considered invention. For those of you who may not know, for me, Nikola is my favorite inventor. He was the one who gave us AC, alternating current, that flows in our house. All the AC motor in our cars, fan, and blender. This is the original man who came out with this patent. He basically invented them and built them from scratch. But unfortunately, he was not business savvy, and he died a wretched man in New York in 1943. Something I recommend. You guys can go on Google and just read up about his life. He's one of the greatest inventors of our time, in my opinion. When we say patents or intellectual property, it's not a physical property like a house or a land. It's something intellectual. And you guys can read what it means. It's an exclusive right granted to an individual or a corporation to protect the ideas or any product that they came up with or manufactured for a period of 20 years. After 20 years, it becomes a public property. Anybody can copy it and manufacture it, do whatever they want with it. And to be frank with you, the whole Western world and Japan, why they're on top of the world, is because of this creative process. Because when someone comes up with an incredible invention, even though it could be drugs, it doesn't really matter. They have 20 years to recover their invention. And not all inventions are profitable. However, after that 20 years, anybody in the world can capitalize on that invention and profit from it. You can imagine what happened when skyscraper was first invented, correct? Or automobile or motorcycle or bridge. This is where the leading countries are still far ahead of us. And especially those from African countries, we need to wake up. Basically, there are three types of patents. The first one is utility. You can create something new. It could be an idea, it could be a method, it could be machinery. However, it has to be useful. But some patents are more valuable than others, and some are actually useless. I'll be frank with you. Then, of course, you have patent on plants. We're used to having plants all over us. It's difficult to patent a plant because it's part of nature. However, if you can reproduce a new type of plant by grafting, asexual reproduction, or that technique, it can be patented. That's why you have all these GMO, genetically modified plants. They have patents on those. And the last one is design patents. You are protected if you come out with something that is, you think it's beautiful, nice, functional, or non-functional. It's protected. However, the issue with design patent is somebody modifies it slightly. It's no longer protected, unlike utility patent, which very, very strong. I'll go to an example of to see how ideas evolve, the value of patents. I'm sure growing up, we all walk around, people walk all over the world, they just walk around. And some people started using horses, correct, chariots. And this German guy came out with the idea of tying wheels drawn by horses, correct? By a common link in 1887, German guy. That's how bicycle was invented. You can see over here, there was no pedal, correct? You probably have a stick that you used to push it around, like if you're rowing. However, later in 1880s, some people in England improved on it. The added tire, stiffener, even a stand, correct? And most importantly, you see a chain? that makes this structure patentable over this. Because you say, I patented a bicycle. You said, no, a bicycle is well known. You have to distinguish that what you come up with is better. It's obvious that this is better because it has a chain, it has a pedal for propulsion. It has a pedal propulsion. And of course, it's covered by tire as opposed to also some metal. And there's no wood component. You can see going from here to here, it's a very big step, but it's a big transformation. Then somebody say, oh, I can even improve on this. What they do, they attach a motor to it. You can see small motor, you add your gasoline, correct? Now, just like when you start your lawnmower, when your bicycle is propelled. From this, it becomes obvious how inventions basically evolve over time. Of course, now we have battery-powered motorcycles. So if you say, oh, I invented battery-powered motorcycle, most of the components are known. However, the propulsion method, because it's battery, it's no longer gasoline, the US government will allow that as an invention. But I'll come later on how to apply for inventions and what to do. Another good case is this. I got this from the archive of Mercedes-Benz. You can see 1886. You can imagine going from here, correct? 87. You can see the advance is correct. Instead of 2 wheels, now it's 3 wheels, correct? It actually has a seat that sits more than one individual. And for the advance, somebody added tires to it, rear seats, even with the horn and light. You see the light, headlight. Going from here to here, it's a lot of work, a lot of critical thinking for somebody to design this and they sit down and make all the components and build it. Then, of course, you can see this, correct? This is a carriage with a car. Has made it break down, and then it's being pulled by a horse. Instead of it, of course, there was no tow truck in those days. If you file for this, it's not an invention, because a horse towing carriages or carrying goods are known, and this is known too. So you cannot bring two things that are well known and say, oh, and combine and say you just invented something. It's not an invention because it's obvious. The issue of obviousness keeps coming up. Oh, it's obvious. Oh, it's for everybody. So what makes an invention is it is not obvious. Something that is not obvious, that's what makes it an invention. And you guys are more familiar with this old rotary phone. This is what old phone used to look like. When I came to US, this is the phone we used to use. There was only one phone company in the entire country, AT&T. Of course, this morphed into this. You can see invention steps. This is better, for senior citizens. It's bolder, they can touch, has different feel. It's a good invention, but it evolved from this. Then, of course, you have an office setting as a secretary. You can't use this. So it's the next evolution. The same can be said about our cell phone. Somewhere in my house, I have a cell phone, like a small box made by Motorola in the late 80s, early 80s, somewhere in my garage, and keeping it as a collector's item. This is what NEC cell phone looks like. It looks unbelievable. That's 40 years ago. And of course, it came to this break. I don't know if you remember, many of you are old enough to remember this, where it's wireless, you hold it to your hand, you're so proud because you're not now tied down by this rope correct. You're no longer tethered. You move around your house. It gives incredible freedom in the kitchen, put by the stove and cook and talk to somebody. Then came the big revolution, the cell phone in the late 80s and early 90s. And of course, like everything else, because advances in technology, semiconductor devices, this is laughable compared to what we have today. And you can see going from here, incredible bandwidth. We have radio, better image sensor, better cameras, scripting, internet, cloud. Going from here to here, it's an incredible jump. In fact, from here to here, the jump is 100 times higher than between these two. The level of sophistication, the amount of patents needed to protect these products. For me, most of my patents came from my work, the company I work for. Well, they said, oh, it's valuable, we have to protect it. Then I meet with attorneys to have discussions. I made my presentation, we tried to, I work with mostly external lawyers or IP attorneys who are highly specialized. Then they file it on behalf of the company. Because when you start working in most companies, you sign a non-disclosure letter that anything you invented belongs to the company. And of course, they do all the funding. They funded my research lab, all the overhead. Then it goes to the patent office. They may review it or reject and say it's obvious, or they could find something in China or Russia. Someone have done something similar. They say, oh, it's in a public record. You don't look well. If you look well, you will have seen that somebody did this in Japan, even though you don't even know the word in Japanese or Russia. So invention involves a public search, which is expensive, up to 3,000 to 5,000. Special companies are paid to look all over the world with sophisticated software to make sure you're not stealing someone's work. Then, of course, they go over and over. Eventually, patent will be issued. A good source story for patent is United States Patent Trade Office, USPTO. If you have patent search, specific for US. However, if you go for further research, they have search in foreign countries like Japan Patent Office, Korea, China, Denmark, Europe, and so on. So these are good resources for those who want to start learning about patents or filing patents. They actually have free classes. The US Patent Office is very, very generous. They offer free classes that you have to pay, tell you what to do. They're very helpful for a beginner. However, I want to leave you with something I hope you guys will appreciate. This is a new website. It's IDIYAS. It's formed by high school and undergraduate students under supervision of a professor. They use artificial intelligence